Hello, welcome to Cardboard History. I'm David, and today I want to share some of my goals and plans for the year ahead. I'm a little bit late getting this out. There's a reason for that, but being 15 days into the new year, but I just wanted to share kind of some of my plans for the year ahead and some things that I am trying to pick up, different cards and goals that I'm working on with some of the different projects that I have. Before that, though, I did want to share my last pickup of 2024, which is for the Ken Burns project, and it is this Dickey Kerr W514. Kerr played on the 1919 Chicago White Sox team that through the World Series, he was not in on the fix, and he actually the White Sox won the 2 games that he started. So he was able to continue playing even after his teammates were banned. He had a relatively short career, played for 2 to 3 years, and then really decided not to play, not to report due to salary negotiations, and he wasn't getting paid as much as he wanted. Ended up getting suspended from the team, and then played for some outlaw teams that ended up getting him suspended from baseball. He made a brief return around 1925, 1926. But then spent most of the rest of his life coaching, working for an electric company and a few other things. He actually coached Dan Musial early on in his career, and he is one of the people that was partially responsible for convincing Stan to give up pitching and to focus only on batting. He had such an impact on Musial's career and his life that Musial actually gifted him a house later on in his life. So he kind of has that connection with Dan Musial. But this is from the W514 set in 1919, which has all the Chicago Black Sox players on it, and that's a team set that I'm trying to put together. So this is Dickey Kerr. Now, for the year ahead, when I kind of sat down and thought through some goals, this year is going to be a little different for me. So first of all, some of the different things I'm planning to do in the hobby this year. The first one is actually this weekend. There's a show here in Northwest Ohio in Lima. It's about a 200-table show, and I've gone to it the last couple of years. It's the closest show that I have to where I live. So I'm looking forward to that. It's one of 2 shows that I'm planning on attending this year. The other one is the Strongsville show in April. So looking forward to both of those shows. The National, I will not be attending this year because my wife and I are expecting a baby that is coming in July. So I will be home changing diapers and taking care of a baby while many of you that are going to the National Card Show in Chicago this year are there. I hope everyone has fun. I'll definitely miss not being there, but looking forward to adding a 4th child to our family. So that is definitely one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to this year. Possibly later this fall, I might go to another show if I can find something else kind of somewhat close, but not sure what that would be quite yet. Then, as far as some other goals for the hobby, one goal, which is part of the reason why this video is coming out 2 weeks after the new year, is I wanted to get more organized and to be more clear about what I'm trying to collect because I have a limited amount of space to store things in and what to make sure that I am purchasing cards that fit within a collection and not just things that I buy on a whim, although I've definitely done my fair share of that as well. So, part of getting organized is I've spent the last couple of weeks of the previous year and the first few weeks of this year trying to organize and figure out what are the collections that I am working on and what goals do I have for those. And that's what I want to share here a little bit. And this is what I came up with. So there's 19 projects that I figured out that I'm working on to some degree or another. Some of them are things that if a card shows up and the price is right, or I can, find it at a show, it fits into my collection, but I'm not actively pursuing or trying to finish that collection as much as others. And so these are the different cards, and you can kind of see there I'm about 50% done with the collection that I'm setting out to. But I'm sure things will change and grow as the year goes on. I just wanted to kind of go through each of these collections and share what I'm doing with it and what my goals are for the year ahead. So the first is my Topps base collection, and these are all Chicago Cub team collections except for the Ken Burns collection. So the Topps base collection is something that I completed a little over a year ago, and that was to collect the complete Topps run of the Chicago Cubs players. And that's currently sitting at 1,945 cards. I have that completed, but for the year ahead, there will be Topps Series 1 and Series 2 that will come out. And so I'll probably add about another 25 cards or so to that with the release of those two products. The next one on the list is the Ken Burns collection. I've done most of my videos about this collection that I'm working on. It's a larger scale collection with a lot of higher priced cards that I'm slowly working my way through. And so my goal for this year there is to add 69 cards to this collection to get myself to that 200 number. There are a lot of cards in this collection that I'm working on that are $2 or $3 cards. They're just common cards from the 80s or even some from the 90s. So there will probably be a lot of cards like that I pick up, and a handful of some higher end cards. In a little bit, I'll go through which cards specifically in that collection I'm targeting for the year. The next collection that I've been working on for a while is the complete team set of the Chicago Cubs from the T206 set in the early 1900s. And I am just missing 4 cards from that. So that is one of my biggest goals for this year, is to finish that team set and to get those last 4 cards. One of them is the Carl Lundgren, which he has a pretty high population version of that card with the Kansas City uniform on, and I have that card, but I want to pick up the version that has his Cubs uniform, and it's a really hard card to find. It's very short printed. Not many are out there. So that's probably going to be the hardest card that's left. Beyond that, I still need, I believe, 1 Mordecai Brown and 2 Joe Tinkers. But other than that, that set's coming close to being completed. The next one that I'm really close to completing is the 40s and 50s Bowman team set for the Cubs, and I'm only missing 9 cards from that. So that's another one. None of those are really high value cards that are left. So hopefully I can finish that one out. That's probably the easiest one that I could just go on eBay right now and finish if I wanted to. Next up, and this is kind of concludes the top 5 projects, which are the projects that I'm focusing the most on. And this is the T206, the Monster, the 520 card journey that I will I don't know if I'll ever get to the end of it, but it's a fun journey nonetheless. So I'm currently sitting at 59 cards, and hoping this year to add the 4 Cubs cards that I added. It'd be nice to add about 4 cards from the Ken Burns collection that are T206s, and then another 23 cards. That'll bring my total to around 90. So that's probably one of my more ambitious goals for this year, is to get my Monster number up to 90. Then as I get down to the next tier, these are some other projects that I haven't focused on as much. Some of them are cards I can buy in bulk or buy, in a team set lot. And the first one is the Topps update. So depending on which year, starting in around the 80s, might have been 79, Topps put out a traded set, which came out towards the end of the year and included players that had been traded. And then this eventually kind of morphed into Topps updates and highlights, and then presently it's called just Topps Update. And it's somewhat connected with the Topps Base project in that it's somewhat viewed as the 3rd set, or Topps Series 3. And so I want to complete that out, because I think that will give me a more complete Topps team run for the Chicago Cubs. The next project below that is the Gold Parallels. I have a binder that I just started putting together, and whenever I can find any of the Gold Parallels, I try to put those together. I think it's a really cool thing that Topps has done. If you go back to the Topps Gold that came out in the early 90s, and then include starting in 2001 when they did the Topps Gold Parallel that's numbered to the year. So this year, any Gold Parallels will be numbered to 2025. It's somewhat limited, but yet readily available, and I think it just looks really cool to have a binder with all of the gold border cards in there. So this year, I guess I didn't mention on the Topps update, my goal for this year is to add 200. I've already purchased a couple of team sets on eBay to try to hit that number, and that's how I'll probably get there, is by just buying lots of cards and groups of cards. With the Topps Gold, my goal for this year is to add 72 cards to that, and we'll see. It's a lower priority compared to the ones here on the chart that are in blue. Then the Topps Venezuelan. This is mostly at card shows that I look. Occasionally I'll see these show up on eBay in varying conditions. They're very condition sensitive because a lot of them were glued into albums. But these are, for the most part, very similar cards to the Topps. You can tell the difference between the ones that were produced in the U.S. and the ones that were produced either in Venezuela or for the Venezuelan market, because of the paper stock that was used is a lot thinner and more fragile. For the Venezuelan, many of them will say Venezuelan on the back, or some will have Spanish. But this is just kind of a unique subset of a card that's a lot more rare for that vintage era. So that's something, that along with the 1-2 below it, which is the O-Pee-Chee set. Many of the Topps O-Pee-Chee and the Topps regular base cards, you can't tell the difference unless you look at the copyright. There's just some unique small differences between the ones that were produced in Canada. Certain years there will be an O-Pee-Chee logo as opposed to the Topps logo. But it's kind of a parallel set to that, and something that, as you can tell, that's my lowest percentage project. If I'm at a show and I'm in a value box and I see a Cubs O-Pee-Chee card, I'll probably pick it up. But this year I want to try to buy a couple of the team sets and hopefully get to around 50% complete on that project. So it's one I haven't focused on, but I want to focus on this year. And same for the Topps Chrome. I haven't picked up a lot of the Topps Chrome cards except for where I just see them available. And so I would like to try to pick up a couple team sets this year as well for that and try to build out that collection. So those are kind of the Topps related sets projects that I have. And then the projects at the bottom, these are different things that I work on occasionally, or if I just see things, I'll pick them up, but I don't have a whole lot of goals of what I'm trying to accomplish. So the first one is just the 50s and 70s, 50s, 60s, and 70s Topps inserts. So these would be things like the decal edge, or stamps, or stickers, or other things that Topps released outside of their base package. And some of these are really rare, like test issues and things like that. But I just kind of like collecting the things that came out alongside of the Topps cards. So that's that project. Again, it's not something I focus on, but if I'm buying cards from Greg Morris and I see, they have a decal edge that's going up for auction, I might just do that because I already have free shipping. Or again, if I see it in a value box, the kind of thing that I'll add to my collection. The Topps Pro Debut Rainbow, something I started doing 2 years ago. Just kind of a fun way for me to do some prospecting without paying the extremely exorbitantly high prices of Bowman and getting first Bowman autos. So I've put together a pretty large collection over the past 2 years of just different player rainbows from Topps Pro Debut. Then the Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversary is another modern set, and most of these in here are going to be more of the modern variety. The Chrome Platinum Anniversary started 3 years ago, so there's 3 sets out, and it's a Chrome version of going back to 1952 Topps, and they've done 52, 53, and 54. So assuming for this year they'll come out with the 1955 Chrome set, and just a fun player team set to collect because it combines that modern Chrome with the vintage design. So that's something that is probably the only project that I actually have a goal that I want to get current on. That one I'm missing 13 cards from the first year that they did that, and so I want to try to pick those up as I can find them. Next up is the Topps Chrome Sapphire, and this is mostly just because the Sapphire cards are primarily blue, except for the first couple years they're more of a cracked ice silver look. But I just really like the blue with the Cubs, and it's a cool color match, and I think it looks great. This is another project that I put into a binder and just try to pick these up wherever I can find them. The early years were very limited numbers, so very hard to find, very pricey. But something if I see out there, I'll pick up. The Stadium Club Autos is a set I started doing last year, and I really enjoy these cards because the photography is phenomenal. Very crisp, clear images, full bleed. And then the autographs are always on card. So it's a great way to get a collection of on-card autos, and it mixes current players and rookies along with veterans. So this year for the Cubs, they had Shota Imanaga in the set, as well as Billy Williams and Fergie Jenkins. So it's kind of fun to be able to collect both sides of things with those. The Topps Gilded Collection it's a high-end set, and so each card is numbered to 99 or less. So I'm just trying to collect their number to 99 version for each Cubs player. I think they've done it for 3 or 4 years, and there's 5 cards a year or something like that come out with, usually for the Cubs. And then the 5-star autos is similar to the Stadium Club autos. I like the 5-star cards and the autographs, and just pick those up whenever I can find them for really cheap. But I am not trying to complete that project this year. It's just something I keep my eye open for. And then finally, the top variations. This one has been, I'm not sure what to do with it because of the last few years of what Topps has done. But going back into the 50s and 60s, you have error in different versions. Like in 1972, you have some where the color is different in the 3D marquee header at the top. And so you'll have variations of the same card. And then when you get into the 2000s, they started intentionally putting short print variations in, where you would have legends like Ernie Banks would have a short printed card, or some top players like Chris Bryant would have a short print card or a super short print image variation. And I started putting those together in a collection and just kind of keeping my eye open for them. And then 2 years ago, they started doing the Golden Mirror image variation, where every single card now has an image variation. And they're really short printed and hard to find. And I've picked up a handful of them, but it's probably a project that eventually I'll narrow my focus on and not try to go after every image variation. But that's where it is. So these are 18 projects. I mentioned 19, if you're still hanging with me. And the other one is a type card project. And this is something that I would put in the top tier of like my top 6 things that I'm working on in the year ahead. And this is part of the organizational scheme. And I went through pre-war, post-war, and did as much research as I could find to figure out how many different sets, types of cards have Cubs players in them. So that way I can try to build out a set collection or a type collection that has a demonstration of each different type of card from different eras. And as I was going through this, I included things like oversized cards, stamps, stickers, photos, posters, postcards, pins, cloths, matchbooks, plaques, kind of all different types of memorabilia and collections that were officially released for collecting. But my primary aim with this is to focus on the first line that you see there, which is for type, which is different type cards. So in the pre-war, I identified 159 different type cards for the Cubs that I could collect. And so my goal for the year ahead is to increase some cards that I don't have any examples of in my collection, and to add 34 different type cards to my collection, 10 from the pre-war and 20 from the post-war, to get, I guess that gives me 30, plus some that will come in from the Ken Burns collection as well. So that's another goal, and something, especially at card shows, that I keep my eye open for, is just something somewhat rare and unique that you don't see every day. So that's large scale what my goal is for this year. I have no idea if I'll come anywhere close to any of these, but at least gives me something to aim for. What I want to do next is to take a look at some of the different cards in the Ken Burns collection that I am targeting for this year. I came up with a list of 15, a total of 18, 3 cards that are on the list, but only on the list because I don't know if I'll even see them come up. And then 15 cards that I could realistically go on eBay right now and buy, if I had the money, and money was no object. So the first card, these first 3 are cards that I just don't hardly ever see show up. And if they do show up somewhere, I'm going to make a good effort, as long as the price is within reason, to pick these up. The first one is this 1887 Buckner Gold Coin Billy Sunday. I've talked about this card before on some past videos. Definitely a card that I'm targeting, but it rarely comes available. And if it does become available, it's going to have to be in somewhat of a lower grade for me to be able to afford it. Next up is the Ban Johnson 1906 Fan Craze. This is just another card that it doesn't come up for auction very often. And these cards, because they were part of a game, can be in very good condition. With they have rounded corners, so you don't have to worry about corner wear. And so if they do show up, like there's a Harry Polium, who's another manager that I'm looking for the Ken Burns collection, and there's been one on eBay for years, and it's a PSA 8, and it's just outrageously priced for what I could find if I could get the card in like a 4 or a 3. And so same with the Van Johnson, if it shows up in a lower grade but still decent eye appeal, something I'm absolutely looking for. And then also the Wagner with the Polo Grounds game. Same thing here, it's a game card, so they have rounded corners. They tend to be in a little bit better condition than typical trading cards. And so I saw one last year at the National, but it was probably 3 to 4 times what I wanted to pay because of the good condition of the card. So these 3 cards are ones that I absolutely have my eye open for this year, but not really anticipating being able to pick up unless the exact right copy comes along. Now to the 15 cards that are probably within the realm of reason to pick up. The first one, top card on my list for this year, is the Christy Mathewson T205. This is a card that I've wanted for a while to go into the Ken Burns collection. I love Christy Mathewson, his story, him as a player. This card, I feel like it's just iconic. And so definitely something I am looking for this year. Of these 15, I figure I'll probably be able to pick up 5. Unless I pick like the 5 cheapest ones on the list, and maybe I can get a few more. So it's not a list of all 15 that I'm trying to pick up, but 15 cards that I'm keeping my eye open for, and if the right card comes along at the right price, we'll want to pick up. Next up is the T206 Cy Young, and just another fantastic player, fantastic set. Would be the most expensive card from the T206 set that I've picked up yet, if I'm able to get one this year. But again, it's going to have to be a card with decent eye appeal and a lower grade in order to be able to afford it. Then the last card in my top 3 is the 53 top Satchel Paige. Just an iconic player and an iconic card. I've been coughing. I've had a cold for about 3 or 4 weeks now, so I'm finally coming off of it. Next up is a couple of 1956 tops, and this next group of 5 cards are all 1950s era tops cards of Hall of Famers. First one is Hank Aaron in the 56, Roy Campanella in the 56, Brooks Robinson in the 1957, Bob Gibson, 1959, and for some reason it didn't show up, but Roberto Clemente as well from the 1956 set. Those are 5 cards that I'll keep my eye open for, and would love to pick up probably 2 or 3 of these this year if I can. I feel like they're all either iconic players or just iconic cards, looking at the Gibson and the Brooks Robinson being their rookie cards. Both cards that I love the way that they look. I love this Brooks Robinson card and his young, boyish grin on it, and just the joy in his eyes. Definitely one of his better cards if you've looked at some of his other cards and the facial expressions that they tend to capture him with. And same for the Bob Gibson, just a phenomenal card with the Pepto-Bismol pink there. Next up is 4 T206 cards, and this first one is Willie Keeler, then Sam Crawford, John McGraw, and Rube Waddell, which didn't show up. So not sure what's going on with the images, but one's missing from here as well. So if I could pick up 2 of these, would definitely be very ecstatic for this year. Iconic Hall of Fame players who have great stories, and definitely some great cards that I'm looking for. Then the final 3, these don't really fit into any sort of grouping, but Rogers Hornsby, either this card or another card of him with the Cubs. He had a brief tenure with the Cubs, mostly known for his time with the Cardinals, but if I can find him in a Cubs card or in a Cubs uniform, that's sort of what I'm targeting for the Ken Burns collection. A non-baseball card is this 1939 Churchman's Jesse Owens. Definitely an iconic individual, looking back at what he was able to accomplish in the Olympics, and just as an athlete, someone who's well respected. Being from Ohio, and Ohio State having the Jesse Owens connection is another just cool point for this. And then the last card is a 51 Bowman Ted Williams. One that I just love this image of Ted Williams, and a phenomenal card. And if I could find it this year in a good eye appeal version, something I would definitely love to pick up. So that is a short list of some of the cards that I am hoping to pick up this year. We'll see what the year has in store. If I could finish the year with 5 of those cards of the 15 that I showed, would be really ecstatic. So that's where things sit with my collection, and I'm sure I'll probably make another video next week with whatever cards I pick up from the card show this weekend. Other than that, look forward to interacting with all of you and seeing what goals and aspirations you have for the year ahead. Thanks for watching Cardboard History.